The language of deceit. Notes and extracts. Function and purpose. What follows are the 6 functions of secondary education, with original quotes, as stated by Alexander James Inglis, assistant to the Professor of Education at Harvard University, in his work Principles of Secondary Education, published in 1918. The principles will be followed with a description of the manner in which they have manifested themselves within the modern school curriculum. 1. The adjustive or adaptive function. Reference. Mere adjustment through the development of relatively fixed habits of reaction is fairly adequate for those elements which may be conceived as destined in all likelihood to remain relatively unchanged in their essential characteristics within the life of the present generation. Page 375. Explanation. Fixed habits of automatic reaction to authority must be established with no space for critical judgment or personal opinion. Nothing will be possible without permission, and you are to learn how to accept the rules that you don't like with the understanding that you can't change them. Order will be the aim, and obedience will be consistently rewarded. Independent ideas will be discouraged, frowned upon, and in more extreme cases punished through a variety of disciplinary techniques with fixed standards and ideals. 2. The integrating function. Reference. One of the imperative demands made by society on the secondary school is provision for the development of like-mindedness, of unity in thought, habits, ideals, and standards, requisite for social cohesion and social solidarity. Page 377. Explanation. The statistics necessary to control society require conformity from the masses. Orders, however ridiculous, must without question be followed. Tests must be taken. Homework assignments must be handed in before deadlines. The appropriate dress must be worn at all times. The correct passes must be presented on request, and figures of authority must be addressed with the right language. Finally, all evidence will be logged with scientific methods of mathematical precision in a cumulative, permanent record. 3. The differentiating function. Reference. Being necessitated by the relation of the 2 factors of integration and differentiation in the process of social evolution, the differentiating function arises out of the necessity of taking advantage of the differences among individuals for the purpose of determining social efficiency. Page 379. Explanation. No variations except that on the same theme shall be allowed at any time. All students will be molded alike and so be to the greatest extent predictable. Teaching will be done in levels, layers, or tiers, preferably by social class or income bracket or geographical location, or all 3. Such horizontal planning can be compared to the process of a computer game, where all the tasks or challenges in each level must be completed before you can move on. The end of one section will lead to nothing more than the beginning of the next, and so on it will endlessly continue. 4. The propedeutic function. Reference. A more intensive and more extensive preparation for the social civic activities is possible. Preparation for vocational activities in its direct and specific form is deferred. Different forms of preparation for different modes of leisure are possible and justified. A somewhat higher selection of pupils is common, at least with reference to social and economic status. Page 379. Explanation. A small fraction of children will be groomed to rule over the others. They will be given privileges and taught that they deserve this role as guardians of the population. They will reinforce the value of a common purpose, cause, or grounding for all, and will develop the attitude that servants exist to serve and nothing beyond. They will believe in the Darwinian principles of survival of the fittest, delivered as a birthright, and will follow such directions with blind faith. Though the small faction may at times be exposed to alternative opinions, they will understand that they are powerless to effect any form of change within the system itself. Work will have value, but it will not make you free. Five. The selective function. Reference. From one aspect, selection is commonly considered as involving the elimination of those individuals who are unable to meet the demands set. To this view, little objection could be raised, provided and only provided that the demand set could be justified, which rests on the further assumption that either all desirable mental traits are involved in the specific subject selected, or the improvement in mental traits involved can be transferred. Page 381. Explanation. Processes of compulsory health assessment, both physical and psychological, will provide feedback on the quality and allow for changes in the structure that prevent any one group from thinking or breeding too much. The unfit will be tagged, labelled or branded with poor grades and referral for punishment, which will lead to their rejection by the main group. The unwanted will be stigmatized and made to appear unattractive to anyone but their own minority group. Ranks and tables will reinforce a caged winner-takes-all culture. There will be grids and tables and boxes for everyone and everything. You will either fit in or be thrown out. 6. The diagnostic and directive function. Reference. The mere offering of various forms of instruction does not complete the work of secondary school. It must, as far as possible, add to that function the function of exploring, testing, diagnosing, and directing the education of the pupil, including moral guidance, social guidance, physical guidance, and vocational guidance. Page 383. Explanation. Students will be well trained for a specific destination and nothing more. The school will guide the student and provide a justifiable evidence base for the reasons of choice. In fact, the answers will be provided before the questions have been asked. The school will inform the students exactly what roles they are able to perform in society, with the subtext that all alternatives are at most impossible and at least a fantasy. It will sort them out, file them, label them, and set permanent physical and psychological boundaries, borders, or barriers wherever they are able. In an attempt to pool with a little force these points together, we must recognize that the system has aimed to create, from the sentient individual, a stimulus-response animal capable only of reflexive obedience. In essence, stimulus-response communicative ability is a form of mental slavery where the free thinker is remodeled into a robotic operant cog in the great machine of society. Without the insertion of a logical thought process, such as that paralleled in the ancient trivium of an in-depth understanding in grammar, logic and rhetoric, there can be no extension of true knowledge, no habit of intellectual self-defense, and therefore ultimately no liberty for mind, body, or the spiritual soul. No matter how beautiful the bird, it would forever be confined to the panoptical environs of its one-dimensional, dismal birdcage. Forever driven inward by this maddening environment, it will eventually go insane. The Language of Deceit. Notes and extracts.